What's up, everybody? Today I'm doing a video with Paul, and it is awesome.
Hey, what's up?
Your setup looks so good, man. And I like it because I'm recording your setup right now. I can make up for the fact that mine's all dimly lit.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. So it was fun to chat with you and hang out.
Yeah, hopefully this year I'll be doing more conversations with like you and some other people. Because I really think, for me personally, like I really like when dropshippers interact and talk and make content together. I think it's really good for us and also for the community as a whole. So that's something that I'd like to focus on. But today, guys, we want to talk about Paul's dropshipping course on Amazon. And this is of interest to me because, as you guys know, I have not been dropshipping. And this is kind of, it's a weird position to be in because most of my reputation on YouTube and my courses are about dropshipping. So I'm not dropshipping at the moment. That's kind of a point of contention. But it is something that, like, for me after I got banned, I just took a hard look at my life, and there were so many little simple things that I could do to have stability, like changing where I lived, changing who I was around, and all this. And I felt that was more relevant at the time than just immediately trying to get back into dropshipping, right? But now, you know, more stability, and it seems to be a trend of people using eBay less and Amazon more. So it's a really good opportunity to talk about this. And I'd like to get some of your words on, like, what... Because before you were just dropshipping on eBay, and now I understand you do both. When did you start doing Amazon, and what led to that?
So it's always kind of been on my radar. I've always been of the mindset you should diversify your income as much as you can. And so I was like, you know, I'm doing well with this on on eBay, and I was sticking with that for a while. And then I'm like, you know, I want to diversify, and I also get bored. So even though this eBay can always be really exciting because there's always changes, always new things going on, it's always fun to try something completely different or, you know, largely different. So I started to look at Amazon actually in November. It was about 10 or 11 months after I started on eBay. Just jumped on Amazon, had no clue what I was doing, and got overwhelmed really quickly and shut my store down after a week. Made sales really fast on that platform that time, but I just had to shut it down because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, okay, I just don't have time for this right now, especially not in November. It's a bad time to start, something like that. So I stopped that and waited a while, and then you know, and then after a few months, I realized, you know what, there is never going to be a good time. There's never going to be a good time to start this. I could always make excuses saying, well, you know, eBay is going so well, I want to put more focus on that, or you know what, I'm teaching other people about eBay, really want to focus on that, or really focus on making better content for YouTube, and all that's true, 100%. But that doesn't mean I can't also do something else like Amazon. And so then I'm like, I just got to go for it. So we started going for it. Definitely was a slow build because I was busy, but once we started getting it up, hired a good team of virtual assistants, got good systems in place, it's running really smoothly now. So it's been a lot of fun to do it.
That's awesome. And so there's a couple like concerns that I know people have about Amazon, and I'd just like to touch bases on them. One of them being with how you handle cash flow. Because, for example, when you start on eBay, one of the appeals, you know, PayPal jail aside, is that you can get your money instantly and use that same money to fund the transactions. Where on Amazon, even if you've been doing it for 15 years, okay, can't be doing it for that long, but you know, 5-10 years, you don't get your payments instantly, and you never will, right? It's every 2 weeks, I believe.
Yes, every 2 weeks. So there's a few different options for you. First of all, for some reason, and I haven't really been able to nail down why, some people can request daily payouts or weekly payouts. I'm one of the people that can do it. I have no idea why, but I don't do it specifically because I want to get over the hurdle of not being able to do it, if that makes sense, because I'm now teaching other people how to do it. So the first way, if you don't have that option, not lucky, then you can, if you have money on hand, you can loan yourself or your business money essentially. So what I did was when I started, I just used money from eBay. the money that I earned, reinvested it into the Amazon business. And that worked really well. Yeah. So it's kind of like a funnel of money from eBay over to Amazon. Worked really well, especially when you're starting out, because the first few months you're not going to do a really high volume in sales, and you don't want to do that. So it works out really well for that. And then you kind of like, well, because it's still in the business, you don't even have to pay yourself back. It's just staying in the business. And then the other option is credit cards. Credit cards that's the best way to do it, in my opinion, if you have the credit limits to support it, because you can make so much money in cash back. You get like a 2% back card. I'm thinking about switching over to a points card, which I've never used before, because I just wanted cash back. But just the volume I'm putting on those cards, I could pay for first class tickets, all my vacations, if I use that card instead. So that seems really appealing to me. I might just do that going forward. And then the third option is Payability, if you've ever heard of that. Payability is a company that they're not Amazon, they're another company, but they will give you, I think it's 80% of your daily, 20%, I'm not sure about those numbers, but it's something like 80%, and they hold the rest of it. So they give you the 80% every day, and they do take a percentage off the top, but they give you a cashback credit card you can use that offsets that cost. So that's another option for people as well. But credit cards are really king.
So it's not something that should stop people. It's just an obstacle to be aware of.
It's definitely something people need to be aware of, but for most people, it's a non-issue if they have the right credit cards. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you brought up a point earlier that I'd like to address a little bit more, and that's how it's better to start off slower. And maybe how, because I remember when you were saying how you got involved, that you had so much going on that you couldn't really do more than that. And so like that could actually be a good thing. And it's interesting when there are cases where, because a lot of people are like, oh, I got to work all day, every day, all the time, constantly. But maybe in this situation, just a little bit in the beginning could actually be more beneficial.
Yeah, especially on Amazon, because Amazon, every account has something called a velocity limit. It's like this thing that Amazon doesn't talk about too much. You're not really sure what your velocity limit is. But as soon as you hit a certain number of sales or volume of sales, eBay looks at your account and says, okay, how long has this person's store been up? How many products do they have listed? And do their sales volume, does it make sense compared to all that, based on all the data they have about all these different stores? So if they see that your sales volume is just way high so fast, they'll actually temporarily suspend your account and ask for all this documentation. They just want to make sure that you're not like a scammer, basically. Once you get them the documentation, you can start selling again. But it's a pain to do that. It's a hassle. It could take a while to do it. So it's better just to avoid the velocity review entirely. And the only way to avoid that is to scale slowly. And then the other benefit of scaling slowly, and when I say scale slowly, I just mean like the first 2 to 3 months we're talking about here, not like 6 months or a year, just the first 2 to 3 months. And the other benefit there is, let's say you start doing like, $1,000, $2,000 in sales a day, like right off the bat. If you did something wrong setting it up, you weren't sure about the right way to do things, then that's a lot of orders you're messing up, right? Yeah. So if you're doing less orders, you can see like a couple of days later, like, oh shoot, I really messed up my handling times. I should have set them for longer. Well, no big deal. It was just a handful of orders. You adjust and you recover from it. So that's another great reason to scale slowly with Amazon.
Yeah, it sounds like a case where being more patient is quite good.
Yeah, because it will pay off.
Yeah, and a lot of people who are interested in online income in particular are often not as patient as they need to be with things.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those funny things. I feel like we've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure we have. Where it's like you see people, they look at like different programs or courses and whatever course it is, and they see the price of it, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And then how long will it take to get started? How long will it take me to get money? But then like these same people, or not not in all the cases, but in a lot of cases, the same people are paying thousands of dollars for a college credit, for like one college credit that may never pay off, that they're going to spend, how long is the semester? 3 to 4 months, right?
Yeah.
That's just one part of it, that they go to school for 3 years and then they do internships, and then maybe they find a job in their industry after they're like $100,000 in debt, right? Whereas with something with drop shipping, the thing that amazes me about it is that in terms of e-commerce, I can't think of a business model that has a cheaper barrier to entry, right? Certainly there are other ways you can make money cheaper, like affiliate marketing, right? But something like for e-commerce, there's no cheaper way to get into it. So when people complain about, oh, like this is a little bit difficult, or eBay or Amazon's making changes, but think about what the situation you're in. I mean, it's so, I would say simple to get started. I think we both know it's not easy. It does require work, but in terms of business models, it is so freaking simple to get started with something like drop shipping, especially on eBay, and Amazon's the same thing as well. So I don't know what your question was. I just kind of went off on a rant there.
No, I think that's relevant to talk about, because it's something that a lot of people face when they're trying to get educated. Like, it's really easy for us to take for granted the fact that the internet exists. Whereas, like, without the internet, you had to convince people to give you money to build buildings and hire people to have a business. Like, that is insane. The amount of effort and coordination and, like, social influence you have to do that properly is ludicrous. And then to just be able to just, like, even if your drop shipping store gets shut down or something, you could just create a new LLC just within, like, a week or two, and it's just reiterated your entire business. Like, that does not happen in the physical world. And it's really easy for us learning to, take for granted the fact that this is a great opportunity for a lot of us.
Definitely.
So I would like to ask, at what point, because I know you're very, like, you feel a strong desire to create solutions for other people. And I think that's very interesting to me, because I usually just like giving people information and sharing information. I don't feel as much of an urge to fix people's, like, the situations as you do. And that's why, like, I have more confidence working with you, because I know that if you have a course about something, you really have taken it very seriously, and that you've put a lot of thought and effort into it. So can you explain a bit to me about at what point during your Amazon kind of experiences did your mentality get to the point where you're like, all right, I'm confident enough now to make a course about this and teach other people? Because I know that you wouldn't do that just at the very beginning as you were getting started, whereas I might try and do something like that, you know? So I'd like to hear what your thoughts on that are.
Yeah, totally. So, whenever I start something, it's kind of like in my own head, just kind of doing it myself, trying to figure it out. And then, I'm always trying to be honest, like open with people and like sharing, like say, hey, started selling on Amazon. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but I'm not an expert on it. And then the more I start to talk about it on YouTube, the more people start asking me questions about it and start, showing interest in it. And so when people start to do that, then I pay attention. And then I start talking more about, challenges I've had, how I've been able to overcome those challenges. And then I start getting more and more questions. So at some point, this happened with both eBay and Amazon, I start to see the same questions over and over again. And they're questions that become very routine for me to answer because I've answered them so many times. And that's when I really realized that people are looking for like a more like concrete solution to like getting started, or like a concrete plan to get started. So that's when it usually makes the most sense for me to put together some sort of program to help people out. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, the point of this video is for us to talk about these subjects in an informative, educational way. So you don't necessarily have to answer the questions. It's a prompt to get us engaged in dialogue, right?
Cool. Yeah.
But that's so with Yeah, I'm really excited because I was literally I was looking at Amazon courses like 2 or 3 days ago, and you messaged, and I was just like, oh my god, the timing, it's great, it's perfect, because I watched your webinar, or
Oh,
one
cool.
of them. Yeah. And so that was
Yeah, there's a
cool.
lot of my dog's barking at me. There's a lot of interest right now in it. I think people's just they look for other. It's just same thing like I explained before. People just look for different opportunities. Maybe they tried eBay, didn't work for them, or they're doing well on eBay and just want to. Oh, and I gotta tell my dog to shut up. Sorry.
It's all good, don't worry. Wow, look at all those books. I wonder if he has a list of those books. Yo, if someone's watching this, you could totally pause the video right now, and if you could title out those books, that'd be awesome. I should do it, but... Whoa. Some of those, are those fantasy? Those are the Lord of the Rings books. I was going to be like, oh, I bet Paul's, it's all like self-improvement and efficiency. You got some Lord of the Rings books behind you.
Oh, you're looking at all the books?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Lord of the Rings. We have some books on like meditation. So, and then some books about like to help me with drop shipping, just like mindset stuff.
Yeah.
So,
do you read much?
Yeah. It was funny before like I became like a drop shipper. I like didn't read, and I'm so ashamed of that, but I didn't. But last year, I think I read more books last year in 2018 than I read in the last like 5 years before that.
Nice.
And I just love it now. Now I get the audiobooks, and I got like Bluetooth headphones, like these cheap ones from Amazon. But I just put them on, and I'm just walking around, doing chores and just listening to it. You can get through a book in like 3 or 4 days. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's a great way to build momentum. Like even if you're not necessarily applying everything you're reading, there's something about the act of reading about that energy of that life-changing energy, right? And then it makes you think about things maybe completely irrelevant to what you're reading about. And then there's a lot of times where I've gone and done something very productive or beneficial after reading a paragraph in a book, and then just like having that energy, it creates that spark,
I totally agree.
So
sometimes you read a book and it's like, oh yeah, I know all this, but it still is like, it's good to, I'm glad I'm hearing this again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, reaffirmation. And I'm just bringing this up for those of you who think this may be off topic. Reading books is really important. Seriously, it's super, super helpful. Do you know,
think so.
Are there that many drop shipping books? I guess they're all.
Yeah, there's none. There's none. I mean, but like the books that I read are more like planning and motivation. So I'll show you my favorite book. This is my favorite book. It's called The 12-Week Year, and it's all about setting goals for yourself. And it's perfect for anyone who's in any sort of business, like drop shipping. Like this book was the best book I read last year, I think. Because it tells you how to set goals, but it's also like really good motivation in here. It's my favorite book from last year. So,
what was your main takeaway from it?
The main takeaway is that the whole concept of the 12-week year is that when we set goals for ourselves, most people set them in year increments. They say, okay, what are we going to accomplish in 2019? And they set the goals, and then they don't do anything for 11 months. And then in the last month, they're like, oh shoot, we got to rush and finish everything. So the author's like, why don't you make your year only 12 weeks long instead of 12 months, so that you just hustle for those 12 months to get your goals done. And you really focus on those 12 weeks on like one big goal. And it really helps you stay focused. And anytime you start to like feel like you're slowing down, like at the point when you start to slow down, you realize that there's not a lot of time left. Because like when you set goals in the beginning, when you first start, you're really excited, you're really motivated. That's like January, maybe February. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I got like 9 more months that I have to work out every other day, right? So now, once you hit that point, you only have like 3 or 4 weeks left. And then you get excited because it's the end, right? And you say, oh, the end's in sight. I can keep going with it. So that's kind of the idea, and it works really well. Like I got a journal, and I enter in all my goals there and plan them out. And yeah, I just really like it. Are you like a goal setter?
Me? Oh God. Yeah. I think I'm probably the opposite of a goal setter. Like my life is very much about identifying what you can do in the next 24-hour period and getting things into daily habit. Do you know, have you ever studied Kaizen at all? Or Kaizen principle?
No, I don't know what it is. No.
So it's based on the premise that like if you can do something for like a few minutes every day, and that's all you think about is making sure that you do it for a few minutes. The reality is you often will do it longer. But the act of doing something every day, just even if you can't focus, it puts you in a position where after you've done that for like 2 or 3 weeks, you can focus on it. And most of us we think too big when we're trying to accomplish things. And instead of identifying the small little individual tasks that we should do every day, we think about the whole big picture and where we need to go and feel overwhelmed by that, and then build up this mental block when really we should just be doing it, you know?
Yeah, I have heard of something similar like that. And the idea that I heard, and it works really well because I use it, it's like, okay, I don't feel like getting up and going to the gym today, but I know I can get up and put on my gym clothes.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to do. And as soon as I get the gym clothes on, I'm like, all right, I might as well go to the gym now that I'm wearing the gym clothes.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's all about those little mental tricks to it's all good, man. There is so much more noise in my environment than yours. There's like someone working on a saw in the street. There's like ladies walking by selling things. I wouldn't worry about it. It's okay.
All right, let me go grab him. If I put him on my lap, he'll shut up.
Okay. All right, guys. So now I'm going to ask Paul some questions about the course itself, because I know we haven't talked too much about that. So, woohoo!
He always waits to do this when I'm on like one of these video calls.
He knows.
I think he just be talking and gets like weird about it.
He wants your attention.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. You got it.
So, I want to ask a little bit more about the Amazon course, because from my understanding, the eBay dropshipping course, that was your first like big course, right? Because you're a YouTuber and an instructor now. That's a thing, and it's a thing you've been doing. Whereas before eBay, that was a new part of your life, right? As far as I understand.
What was a new part of my life?
Like having a course and having students and
Yeah. So I've been doing like eBay for a little while, and then I started a YouTube channel because I was part of an online forum, and then people kept asking questions like, oh, I know the answer to that. So I'd respond, and then somebody's like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get what you're trying to describe. I'm like, oh, let's make a video showing you it. And so I did that a couple times, and then people were interested, so I started making YouTube videos. And then I made the eBay course, became an instructor, and then, yeah.
So I'm curious, is there anything in particular that you are doing differently with this course versus with your first course? Because I would imagine, you know, the act of having a course and doing it, you learn a lot about like the course creation process and how to interact with your students and all these things. So is there anything that comes to mind if you would compare how you went about the first course versus the Amazon course?
Well, there's a few differences from the first time I made the eBay course. I've redone it since I made it originally to make it better. But when I first made it, I didn't really have the right equipment, so the sound kind of was not the greatest in it. And it was everything you needed was in that course, but it was like almost too much in it, like scattered about. It still worked, but it was just like a little bit too much, I think. So what I've learned to do with the course is, and I learned this also just from teaching people on YouTube and coaching, is that it's almost more important. Well, it's not true. Just as important as the content is the way you structure it, right? So this time around, going into it, I had the good equipment right away, so that makes everything much easier. It makes the quality better, and then I really spent a lot of time planning it out, like where the videos would go and which order, and then and just putting everything sequentially, building on top of each other from one video to the next. So that was probably the biggest difference between the first time I made the eBay course and like what I learned going into making the Amazon course. Yeah. But one thing I forgot was how much work it really takes. I'm sure you can relate to that. You're like, oh, I'll make this course. And then like a month later, you're like, wanting to like pull your eyes out, just finally get to sleep.
Yeah, well, you finish what you're working on. Whereas when I'm working on a course, it's more about identifying a subject and then just throwing more videos and content into it. It's a very different kind of structure in that sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, to say that it's not easy to make a course, and as YouTubers, we have an inherent advantage in that sense, because the act of creating video for a lot of people is quite stressful and really intimidating. So just being able to make videos regularly, really like getting used to that puts you in a position where making a course isn't as crazy as some other products. And especially the income that a course generates it's really fascinating, because it's essentially a listing on eBay that you own that continuously resells, and you don't have to worry about out of stocks. You don't have to worry about other things getting in your way, really, because the chance of like Udemy or Teachable or Skillshare or whatever banning you is quite, I mean, it does happen, but usually the people who get banned on these platforms really, really deserve it. They were doing something wrong, you know, or they just got way too big that the mistakes added up. But so it inherently provides more diversified income, which is incredibly useful, because once you have a couple income streams, making new ones is so much easier, you know, because you have that stability. You don't have to worry about food tomorrow if you don't get the sales, you know?
Yeah, or just whatever. That once you start to become successful, it almost becomes like a habit. Success, where it's like, oh yeah, like I can do that again in a different form. And that's kind of what I tried to do when I jumped from eBay to Amazon, or not jumped because I'm doing both, but you know, when I started doing Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have that relevant
shipping
experience
on Amazon without like originally. It would have taken me longer than it did once I moved from eBay to Amazon. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. You have a lot of relevant experience that makes this time around more beneficial.
Yeah, but I think it's also almost more of a mindset thing, where it's like I saw success, I've been successful, and that's like a big mental block for me originally. Like before I started eBay dropshipping, I tried to make money online. Like I tried many different ways, and I couldn't do it. And is there
Oh, I'm so sorry. I am having internet problems. So those of you watching this recording can still hear me, so I'm going to keep talking.
Now I can hear you again.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Sorry about that. This is internet problems on my end. But what Paul was saying is that there's like a mental block kind of for a lot of people. And success isn't necessarily from knowing the secrets or necessarily having the relevant experience, as much as it is the mentality that you have, knowing that you can fix problems, you can find solutions. And so this is something that I believe as well, and Paul has talked about, and a lot of other people, that really a lot of these obstacles that we face, and you guys listening to this call, if there's something that you're trying to improve and fix, a lot of it really is about the way that you think. because once you can see the world for the way it is and you see all of these opportunities, then you can really, really start to make better decisions and find more success in your own life. But usually people need some level of success to convince their brains that it's possible. So then at that point, it's much easier.
Yeah, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg thing, where it's like, what came first, the success or the success mindset? But I think it's really at the same time. I think, yeah. But and most people, I mean, statistically, most people fail before they're successful. So if you're failing and you haven't seen success yet, that's good. That means you're on the right track, statistically speaking. That's just the way it is. So
yeah, you gotta not be afraid of failing, because failing is the inevitability that brings success. And you only truly fail if you stop trying, because then you never get to the point where you're successful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So I think I've addressed most of the things I wanted to talk about, and I'm curious what I think the audience will appreciate this video, or my audience in particular, because there's a lot of talk about eBay and this kind of thing. And for those of you guys watching, before I started the call, Paul and I were kind of talking about how it's interesting being people in this scene, because we can see some of the kind of patterns with like the reality of opportunity and what public perception of opportunity is, which is always going like crazy and up and down. And so I feel like, I know that a lot of people in my audience are worried about eBay. Well, learning more about Amazon, it could be a really good time for that. The reality is they're both opportunities, but if that fear causes somebody to get involved in Amazon, like, that's good,
Yeah, if they're successful with it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So is there anything you can think of that you want to tell the audience or regarding this subject or anything else?
Regarding everything happening on eBay, you mean?
Yeah, or Amazon or your course, whatever comes to your mind.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I do think that there is a ton of opportunity on Amazon. It's one of the things that really excited me about it. I don't have to tell anyone how much money is being spent by consumers on Amazon. It's a ton. Obviously, there are more challenges to it in a way, because they're stricter than eBay, which is why I still think eBay's one of the best places to get started, and also because they don't hold your money after you're out of PayPal jail. It just makes it so easy to get started on there. But, like, graduate up to Amazon at some point, or if you're really ambitious, go right for Amazon. I just feel like there's so much potential there. It's just growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think it's a very exciting time to get into it, for sure.
Yeah, me too. And so I just want to share one thing real quick while I end. And this is something I've been talking to people about. And it's if you look at Google Trends and you compare Amazon to eBay, Google Trends, it's really interesting because so Google Trends isn't like a perfect example of traffic and interest, but it does give you a pretty accurate sense of what people are interested in, what websites are getting more traffic or less traffic, right? So the way it works is you just post, like, you can do research on a particular keyword. So I can search for eBay, and then it'll show me a graph based on eBay's performance, right? And this is basically the number of people who are interacting with websites that have eBay in their keyword, in their title, their URL, or also the people who are like just searching for it on Google, right? And so we're going to change it to 2004 to present. This is when Google Trends started, essentially, right? So we're also going to add Amazon as a keyword here. And I think that this chart is quite interesting because it really kind of outlines some trends that are going on. Because if we look at February 2004, right, the very beginning of Google Trends, eBay was actually, like, interest-wise, almost triple what Amazon was. Granted, this was 15 years ago. There was a point in time where Amazon was not the behemoth that it is now, right? And then look at how much that has changed. eBay is currently at the lowest point interest-wise that it has been since Google Trends started. That means in a 15-year period, eBay is at its lowest, which is relevant. You know, it's kind of interesting. What do you think, Paul? Why is this? Why is Amazon performing so much better than eBay traffic-wise? Why is that happening?
You see it all the time, unfortunately, with different brands. I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk. He loves talking about this stuff. But he just, like, Amazon looked towards the future and moved forward. They wanted to build a platform that was so customer centric. And eBay said, in 2004, hey, we are dominating this market. Let's keep doing the same thing. Even though social media is coming out, even though the whole, the way marketing is done is changing because of social media, and the way customers want to interact with the websites they use, even though that's all changing, it doesn't matter because we're so big and we're doing well, so we're not going to change. And I really think that's eBay's biggest flaw, is that they haven't changed for the last 15 years. Where Amazon has. They're always constantly innovating, adding new things. And now eBay is kind of scrambling to catch up. And they are trying to be more like Amazon now. But in my opinion, they're doing the wrong. Not everything they're doing is wrong, but the things they're copying, a lot of them are the wrong things I think they should be copying. And they're not focusing on the things that really make Amazon special, which is more like customer service and things like that. So yeah, but this is a great chart. I mean, that's amazing what it's showing you. And the other thing I want to say is that that blue line going down also creates another opportunity for people on eBay, because sellers see that on eBay and they say, you know what, it looks like Amazon's the future. I'm just going to go all in on Amazon. So we have sellers leaving eBay. So that leaves actually more opportunity for sellers on eBay, because those numbers, it's not like eBay is going to go away anytime soon. It's still going to be there. And I do believe that some of their innovation will get their numbers up a little bit more, or at least be able to sustain them. And there are still people buying on eBay. So I think as some of these sellers leave, that leaves more opportunity for new sellers to come in and take that place from them, the sellers who left.
Yeah, it's an ever-changing market. And anytime people are leaving, especially if large percentages or groups of people are leaving a platform, this changes enough to create an arbitrage situation for the people who are interested. And that's why, like, I love learning about, like, kind of some of the big forces in the dropshipping industry. Because if, like, right now a lot of people are talking about at least leaving eBay and using Amazon or other kinds of dropshipping, or taking a break and these kind of things, which inevitably, as Paul is saying as well, it reduces competition. And so there's people there who have no worries about this at all, because they understand that they will just make new strategy, adapt to current market conditions, and they'll be fine. They just have to be willing to be able to make these changes, and that requires a little bit of a risk-taking personality, you know? Whereas most people are more patient. Or,
yeah, it's something I think you kind of like alluded to before, which is that eBay, over the years, they have made changes, and every time they happen, a lot of people start screaming that the sky is falling and that eBay dropshipping is dead. Even non-dropshippers say, eBay's dead. Every small change, people think it's over on eBay, and people leave, but people stay. And the people who stay a couple months later say, you know what, that's not so bad. Actually, we found ways to make this work. And now, because all those sellers left, I'm getting more sales now than I was before. And you see this all the time. Things change. That doesn't mean they're dead or they're over. It just means that there are new strategies you have to implement, just like you said.
And one interesting note here is that a lot of these changes the eBay's made at least, can actually make it easier for a beginner to get sales compared to how it used to be. So it's kind of ironic that people are really freaking out, but yet at the same time, technically, for the beginning part of an account, as long as you don't get flagged, it's easier to get the sales to happen now than it was before.
Yeah, they're like favoring new accounts for like 2 to 3 months, or like 1 to 3 months, depending on like a lot of factors. But yeah, they're doing that, and I think they're doing that to try to attract new sellers. Is my only guess why they're doing it.
Yeah, who knows why eBay does the things that it does. I wish everything was public and we could just listen to like their stockholders and everything just talking about what they're doing. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, it would be neat. I guess maybe one of us in the community should become like a stockholder. I don't know how much stock you have to own to actually be able to attend the meetings, but that'd be funny to watch.
Yeah, that would be cool. All right, guys. So I think this is about it for this video. If you guys want to check out Paul's course, you can look in the description of this video. There is a link to it. Also to his YouTube channel. I encourage you guys to subscribe and all that. And so I forgot to ask about pricing actually, which is something I haven't done in previous videos and people want me to ask. So if you could just explain how pricing works. And I know that previously you had like financing options. I'm not sure if you still have that, but I remember there was like a 3 payment period. So if you can just explain like how much the course costs and what promotions
the Amazon course?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the price is going to be going up soon because we're in the launch kind of week. Mm-hmm. So if you're watching this kind of later, the price might be up already. So really, you got to click on the link and look. I do have a pricing option that you can check out. And that will remain. I just don't know what the price will be after this week or what kind of deals I might be having. I usually don't run deals, but click on it to see what the current price is, but there is a pricing option available.
So the pricing option you mean is like some financing to lessen the, like how does that work exactly?
Oh, okay. So you have 2 months. Instead of paying it all up front, you pay over 2 months. So you pay half this month, half next month. It will cost you a little bit extra to do it that way for the convenience of that. So you can do that, but once you make your first payment, you get instant access right away to the whole course. So it's not like I'm only going to give you half of it or wait for you to make the full payment. You get full access right away if you make that first payment.
Awesome. All right, guys. This has been Paul Lipsky. Again, check out his YouTube channel, his course. I encourage you guys to work with him. I definitely trust him. We've done work in the past, and, you know, it's been pleasant. And I really value the content that you supply. And also, I want to learn more about this Amazon stuff as well, and you learning about it enables me to do so.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Well, thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Paul. Ciao.